Welcome to a brand new edition of the TF Motorsports official podcast. I'm Thomas Frasco. It is September 22nd, 2025. We got a couple of things to go over, and yes, I am live again for this edition. I'm thinking about going live for the future of the podcast for the next several episodes and into the new season, I think, for 2026. Honestly, I enjoy this better. And honestly, it saves me time afterwards, so I could just have it out and ready for you guys. And obviously, it made sense to do it live because usually the whole thing, well, once I switched to Streamlabs after the Bandicam thing kept crashing on me, once I switched to Streamlabs, everything's just been taking like only one attempt. So, and that's how it should be. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the future of the podcast moving forward for these next 5 episodes throughout the fall with the Monster Jam Sparkle Smash Bash point series, as well as our 3rd season of the podcast. And obviously, I'm going to try some new things throughout these next 5 episodes, try some new sounds, new graphics, kind of warm ourselves up and to get ready for the new year. Obviously, with the new year, I'll debut a new logo for the podcast. But when it comes to new features and whatnot, that's what I'm going to be working on. So, main thing we're going to be talking about today is going to be Monster Jam at St. Louis. And, of course, we're also going to be talking about a couple of other things, including Monster Jam at Tacoma, which will kind of segue from St. Louis, because that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about. We're also going to be talking about Monster Jam wrapped up. Hot Wheels just had their event, their first stadium event in a while, and actually surprised me, which we'll talk about that as well. And I'll also be talking about some of my Motorsports Hour stuff this year, because this year has been very different compared to really any year of my life, pretty much. So and I'll get to that towards the end. And of course, depending on how many people are here in the chat live, if you're watching this live, then we will answer questions at the end. I want to thank everybody for joining, as it is currently 8 o'clock. Hopefully it doesn't drag out too long, but we're ready to get things underway here with St. Louis. So Monster Jam have been doing this little thing where they debuted a new track for the new year by doing it early and kind of working through all the kinks. Like, obviously, some things work, some things get back to the drawing board, as we've seen with the last couple years. And this time, we got to witness the new Monster Jam track, as you can see right here. So you can see that the track is actually pretty darn large, as they would start on one of these ramps here, take the berm, and then go around a couple times. You can see there's also a middle ramp here, a little bit more of a steeper area over here, a couple of ramps there, 2 cars on this whole track, and then the backflip, of course, over there. So, and when we got to the event, I noticed that the track has there is things that I like about it, like obviously these ramps, usually the kind of the ski slope like ramp. Those are obviously like one of my favorites. I'm glad they have it in some way. And then you also have that tabletop there, pretty good air, and the racing is pretty fun with the banking, of course, as talked to my dad a few times, and he does love the banked racing tracks. He thinks it's fun. But going into some of the negatives though with the track, there's not a lot to really do. And when we got to freestyle, it was kind of felt like they adjusted the track a little bit, but I don't think it was really enough to kind of make up for it. Because we didn't really get too much air. We didn't really get enough to what I really would think of when you're going to a monster truck show. especially with a Monster Jam scale. I hope they go back to the drawing board with this and maybe um, have some better opportunities for big air, kind of like with the Stadium Series West. They would have that sharp ramp in one of the corners, which had some pretty big moves like with Zach Garner and Wildside. And then going into pretty much, going into like other parts like this, and this. I think again the clutter issue is kind of also a problem because you got a ramp here, you got that, and then you got that. So you're always looking out and you can't really floor it too much. That's why I think like tracks from I'd say like 20, I think honestly this might sound like a hot take, but like 2017, 2018 was pretty darn good when it came to tracks. Like I'll try to pull it up right now just to go just to show you like a quick example, because I enjoy like the track designs in some way, but I just feel this clutter thing it's getting a little bit annoying. I really wish they could kind of declutter the track a little bit. Like, hang on, I have the image right here. I pulled it up from the Monster Truck Wiki. All right, here it is now. So this is pretty much what I'm talking about. This is from Santa Clara, which is also pretty much the late 2017 tracks. So you can see, obviously, there's some areas where there might be clutter, but this is more of a transfer. But meanwhile, you could send it off here, and you have plenty of room to land somewhere like over here. Or if you wanted to cross thread the track, then you can do that, whatever. But you could easily just hit the ramp, get some pretty good air off it. Like you can see some of these ramps are pretty steep, especially this corner over here with the arena pod. You could get some really good air and have plenty of room to land. But going into this track, you could see you could hit a jump. You might have maybe a smidge of room, but there's going to be many cases where you're going to hit another ramp right afterwards. So you can't really go too big. So they have to do a couple things with this track, which is steepen some of the ramps or rework them into more freestyle, friendly, because obviously they advertise freestyle quite a lot. And also try to take away some of the ramps so you could declutter it and you can make this a little bit more easier to drive on. Another problem with the track was during the racing competition, the starting line was a pretty big issue when it came to racing. There was quite a lot of moments where they had to stop and they pretty much had to stop and kind of reline themselves up, and then some of the drivers just slept on the line. I can't confirm. I don't know if they can't see the starting line in some instances, but I wish I knew. But you can see their in the live videos, if you watched, they were pretty much pointed downwards, so it must have been tough to see, unless if the somebody on the radio was helping them out or whatnot. But I just really wish that they could adjust that too. Either have them on top of a ramp, kind of like how it was with Stadium Series East, where they started on a ramp, or starting on flat ground. And Tristan England couldn't see the starting line. Yeah, hopefully if they do bring that track back, they could kind of do those suggestions that I said, obviously make the track a little bit more freestyle friendly, kind of declutter it, and then adjust the starting line so it becomes easier to kind of follow. But other than that, track was okay. I still feel like they could have added more. But the show, though, was good. It wasn't great, wasn't bad. It was kind of in the middle. It was more of good. racing, although it had its problems, once they got past the starting, everything else was fun. You had Zach Gardner. He won the racing competition just barely by Tyler Menega. And then we got the skills competition. It seemed like John Zimmer Jr. would get it, but Tyler Menega, he managed to get the double sidewall save, which that definitely boosted him up and got the win for him. And then we got to freestyle. Drivers either crashed trying to get in, or you also had other drivers managed to fill in their runs all the way. But Tyler Menega managed to just get it. Although we left just a little bit of time on the clock, he still got a couple of great saves and a backflip, which got him the freestyle victory, overall event champion, and now he is first place in points. We're going to talk about points in a second, but first let's just bring up a couple of other things that I want to point out. So, if you can see on the screen, do you guys remember these ramps? As these were from the Monster Jam World Finals Skills World Championship, and a couple of drivers used them. So apparently they're going to make this thing a little bit more of a normalcy, where during the skills and freestyle competition, they're just going to have it out there on like the corner of the track. And it actually worked. I mean, John Zimmer Sr. actually got a very good nose wheelie off of it. But luckily it was just one side. If it was multiple, then it would have been probably, a little bit too restrict. I'm glad they still had the one side open for bicycles. So that's what I'm saying. Like too much of one thing is bad. So I'm glad they didn't go crazy with that. Anyway, let's just give some mass respect for Mike Christensen, as he had this Dan Runte tribute on the top of his truck. Again, that's what the community's all about, getting together and paying tribute. Big respect for Mike. Anyway, so the Sparkle Smash Bash, pretty much the main thing was centered around this. Pretty much just going through obstacles during like halftime. Kayla went through this motorhome right here. If you can see right here, try to zoom in a little bit. So you can see first she jumped over it and then she went through it. That's pretty much what it was. And no pyrotechnics or whatnot, but they just kind of just went through. They didn't really announce it too much. It just kind of happened, really. Like, honestly, I wish they had a little bit more of a better announcement into making, people go back to the seats before that happened. I mean, it's good that we're seeing destruction again in, like, modern Monster Jam, but I do see why the fans still kind of complain about it, because it's pretty much during intermission, and then right after they take it off the track for freestyle, instead of having maybe an extra one or whatnot for a like a freestyle obstacle, which is something I really wish they would have had. Yeah, so they had the RV, and they're actually going to have different ones throughout these next several events, so we don't know what's going to be for the next event in October at Arlington, but eventually we will find out. So I found it okay. I just wish for a stunt they could have maybe had pyrotechnics make it a little bit more spectacular. Now, before we get to points, I just wanted to say, like I know they do the DJ stuff and whatnot for this special event, but I felt like they did it too much, like in the after racing and after skills. Okay, like I totally understand, get the fans hyped up for the next competition, but especially when it came to freestyle, it was kind of getting annoying We didn't really get too many interviews from the drivers or whatnot. Truck crashes. All of a sudden, we get another segment. People get tired, and like it just felt like they did too much of it, and it was really, really, really starting to like. It was actually starting to piss me off a little bit because I remember a time where during Monster Jam, I remember actually seeing this at like East Rutherford at Izod. A driver would crash, and after the crash, they would pretty much get out of the truck and then go to like Scott or whoever was commentating, and they would go and they would get interviewed while they were towing the truck over. So you had a good, pretty much, like knowledge of like what's going on or what they have to do next, and it was kind of like a nice part of the show. Like, and I don't usually do this. I don't usually like pull up videos or whatnot, but I want to show you an example. So yeah, just bear with me for a moment. So let's go ahead and let's go to YouTube right now. If you're watching it, so this is from 2008 at I believe Houston. You got Blue Thunder, King Crunch. So we're just gonna fast forward. So they're doing qualifying, and then he crashes. Then what ends up happening is Tony gets out of the truck. See him right over there. And then walks all the way to Scott Douglas. And then you listen and you can hear them having an interview. That's something that I vividly miss when it comes to one of the things that I miss from like older Monster Jam, because obviously I try to think of like presentation a lot. Like I try not to think of crush cars, and I try not to think of all the other stuff that's been ran to death, but I always think of presentation as like the biggest important thing out of anything. And this honestly makes it feel cooler and kind of puts you into like, okay, they got to get the truck fixed, or you kind of get the inside scoop from the driver, and it puts you in the zone. But just having either constant segues to kids or constant segues to DJs, I just feel it's too much. Like the DJ thing, cool. After racing, after skills, totally fine with that. Or have like one or two kid moments, totally fine with that. But having it almost every second, it kind of kills the mood a little bit. Like, I'd rather hear from more drivers, have some more driver moments or something like that. You know? Because then you also get to know them better, and you kind of... And also for some of the fans, kind of grow an attachment, and then all of a sudden, you're a super fan of that driver. You know, it just comes natural. And obviously, I don't feel like yelling right now because it's already like 8:22, and I'm just came back from work. So I'll just leave it at that. Hopefully for next year, and I'm really asking for this. Just kind of tone down some of the fan stuff or the DJ stuff. Like, have it maybe once or twice, but don't have it every second you like have a truck flip over or whatnot. Because then people will look at it and say, huh, I don't think I'm in the right age demographic for this. I should probably change like videos. Like, that's pretty much what it kind of feels like. So just wanted to get that out of the way. You can clip it or whatever, I don't care. I just want to make sure that that's out there and people know, because if I don't say anything, it will stay behind closed doors, and then we just never know about the whole situation. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's go over the points after the first round. So we have Tyler Menega in the lead with 35 points after his pretty much dominating event. Bryce Kenny, Tech Deck, Rec Deck. I'll just say Rec Deck because it's like a handful. Like, why they call it Tech Deck? Right? That's pretty much like it's two names, but it could also throw you off if you try to say it. Armando Castro, Ultra Loco, he's third. John Zimmer Jr., he's fourth, but he did a really good job. Zach Gardner Wildside, he's fifth. And then outside of the top five, you have Cannon Murphy and Classroom Crusher. Tristan England, surprisingly, in JCB Digatron having a slow start. Dalton Widener in the all-new, really good-looking Shell Shock truck. Mike Christensen in Vendetta. Caleb Blood and Jamie Gardner both tied in 11th, or I guess 10th place. And then last is John Zimmer Sr. in Zombie. As Kayla just had a lot of bad luck that event. Racing lost in round one. Skills, I think she broke down. And then, but freestyle, she made it up and had a decent run. So, all right. And honestly, I think the largest air of the weekend wasn't even from St. Louis. Wait, hang on. Mike Trapper. Speaking of clips, Scott Jordan loved the video where you talked about how he misses the Colt Stevens pillow, saying LOL. This is great, and reposted it in a story. Dang, I wish I saw it, but friggin' Instagram took my account down. But yeah, I'm glad he liked it. Again, we must spread the word of Colt Stevens pillow and how much Scott Jordan needs it back, and we pretty much all need one little Colt Stevens pillow in our lives. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. Tacoma Dome, I think they probably had the biggest air, and I'm going to show you. So this is probably not just that, but also the best run out of pretty much anything that I've seen in St. Louis. And this is from the one, the only, Weston Anderson. How the hell are you not in stadiums? And this video right here is pretty much prime proof. Let's take a look. So we already had a huge air hit. He then goes for a second one. So we had to fast forward a little bit. So he's really airing that truck out. And then there's this first save. Just barely gets the truck on the front tires and got it over. Backs it up. 6 seconds left. Not wasting any of that time. Big air. And just completely cartwheels that truck. But somehow puts it in reverse. Like, let me just show you one more time. Like, it looks so, like, calculated. I don't know how the hell he pulled that off. And I bet the answer is because he is Weston Anderson, and I will accept that full-heartedly. Yeah, so if he's not in stadiums by 2027, then I'm going to have to file a complaint. So, anyway, Monster Jam Ramped Up also had an event. They just had their 2 weekends of competition, and this honestly was so far the best that we've seen of Ramped Up. Like, they really went and got some good moves in. The donuts were entertaining. I'm glad they kept the donuts for that. Yeah, just very, very fun stuff. And hopefully we see a little bit more of like an expansion of Ramped Up in some way for next year. But that's only if the locations want it, so. But we'll see. Alright, moving things over. We got Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live. Obviously, we got a few things we're going to talk about here. And the first thing we're going to talk about is a new truck. As they are going to be getting a brand new truck for 2026. Just going to make sure I get the name proper, but I remember seeing this like on their diecast line for quite a while. So honestly, I'm not surprised that they would make this truck into a real life truck. Rhinomite. Okay, that was the name. I just looked it up. Rhinomite. Yep. So that is going to be the truck that's going to be debuting, and it has been rumored that it's going to be replacing Gangster, or at least putting that on the shelf. So admire it while you can before it turns into an expansion only truck. But anyway, also bear with me if I cough or stop for whatever, because allergies are really kicking my squirrely ass. Then they went to New Zealand for the first of 3 stadium events throughout the fall. As you can see here in this video, just a quick little test for somebody in a Bone Shaker. I don't know who was driving, but I'm surprised. They actually made a decent track. Like, you can see kind of from down there, a couple of cars, and then the middle section also is pretty nicely done. I'm surprised the ramps are actually larger than the ramps in Paris, France. Like, they actually went a little bit more outside the box. And the racing style was actually a little bit unique. So it started off with, like, drag racing, but then what ended up happening was you would have to take this turn and just dart right for the finish. And I think we do have some freestyle, oh yeah, we do have a freestyle video from Samson. Let me pull this up here for a second. So, honestly, I thought they were going to go for something very tiny, because they had that event. I forgot where the other one was. There was another international stadium stop, and the ramps were very tiny. There barely wasn't really much. But as you can see here, with this track, they actually went the extra mile and went for something a little bit different. And I really commend them for that. I mean, looking at the middle ramp and the 2 other side ramps where it actually looks like some sort of a jammer of some sort. Like, I just watched this like a couple of hours ago, and it just, like, I'm still trying to think of what to say, because again, I was expecting the bare minimum, but they actually went into a direction that I actually applaud. But hopefully they keep going in that direction, because you could see they actually are getting more air than really any other show that they've done. So, again, hopefully, just hopefully, they keep going on that right track. So, and it's crazy, we usually bash Hot Wheels for whatever they may be. Like the concrete shows and barely any air, and like them trying to compete but they're really barely doing anything, and the globe party thing is kind of a laughing stock, which I agree, because I was thinking about going, but I decided to pull out because nah, it just turned me off. But yeah, it actually, the stadium event actually surprised me, but they still have 2 more stadium events, so we'll see how they do. And of course, when we get to the next one, if it's during the episodes of the podcast for the Monster Jam stuff, I will be updating you guys on that. Also, Hot Wheels. So we go from something a little bit more positive to something a little bit more laughable. So speaking of laughable, this situation doesn't usually happen, but it happens on occasion. So take a look at this. I forgot where this was, but yeah, that happened. So it reminds me of that older video from like some like Jeep looking monster truck, but obviously it was a lot larger than that. But still, it's just something that you don't see every day. So I kind of really talked about almost everything. I guess we'll move on to one last thing, and that is Motorsports Hour Season 3 Monster Truck stuff pretty much done. Um, so we're already at this point. I got one last episode coming up in October, which is going to be the Eastern States street stock racing. Because last year we did the big block modifieds for the 200, and then we're going to do the street stocks because obviously those are our guys there. But the monster truck stuff is definitely, it's obviously the main thing that I have been trying to get better at, because obviously that's where my passion is. And I'm really glad of how this year turned out. So I was going to do these long drives last year, but I figured, no, never mind. We'll switch it to next year, which next year is this year. So then I was going to go to Durham, Connecticut. That got canceled. So then Bridgeport, Swedesboro, that was going to be the one. So I went there first with my dad for a couple times just to kind of get used to going there, because obviously I had to go there with his sprint car stuff. But once the day came, I was incredibly nervous because I was obviously going out of my bubble, out of my comfort zone. But once I got on the highway, I was totally fine after that. And I was just ecstatic once I made it to the place, because that was the first time I've driven 2.5 hours to a monster truck show. And yeah, I really, really am glad that I managed to get that out of my system. And the 2 Extreme Monster Truck event was also a good one at Bridgeport. And then afterwards, Middletown, obviously, I went to the Monster Truck show there. Well, I went to all 3, actually. With that, I wanted to make sure that I did a full weekend for the first time. And Middletown was just the perfect place, because that was pretty much where Motorsports Hour kind of started. So it pretty much came full circle after them taking a year off last year from the monster trucks. So it worked out really well. Got a lot of great moments. Met some good people like James Martin of Monster Truckinator, Jeff and Gage Bursey. Got to chat with Cliff again. It was a great experience. And then after the Sunday show, they were loading up the trucks. So me, Martin, and a couple of other guys, we were all helping roll the monster truck tires in the trailer for the Shockwave guys. And yeah, it was just such a cool experience. If you go to a monster truck show, especially like an independent, like small, show, and if you got friends that can help you, I do suggest like hanging with the teams and like after the show and all that, because it's just such a cool experience that you don't get anywhere else, and it makes living worthwhile, and it was really, 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 really cool. Like even if the show was okay, like not really like the best thing, like pretty much just being there and then chatting with everyone and kind of getting like the glimpse of like the thing that you love the most, like monster trucks. It's just the coolest thing. And then the second long drive came about just about, I think, a week or 2 later after Middletown, and that was Lebanon Valley. It was a huge bucket list thing that I've been really wanting to do, because they had the mega trucks there, and I never seen like really the mega trucks in person, and I really wanted to experience that. But also Lebanon Valley, that's a historic location of itself. So I went and did the trip, and the trip obviously was easier than I thought. Managed to nail it, and got there, and believe it or not, Dennis's line was like the first one when you walked in. Like it was right there after they checked your ticket, whether you paid online or if you paid like at the gate. And the line wasn't even that long. So I got on the line and I finally got to meet Dennis Anderson. I also got to meet the driver that was going to be driving his truck that day, which was Gary Sabella. He did a fantastic job. And yeah, obviously at some point you're going to meet your heroes. And that day I did. And it was just a very, very, very cool experience right from the start. And then right afterwards, chat with a bunch of other guys. Also, Wayne was there, the Pizza Man, Avengers Racing. And yeah, I was just chatting with a bunch of people, got interviews. And yeah, it was just really, really unique. It was something that was completely different compared to really any other monster truck show that I've gone to. And then the show itself was, honestly, out of all the shows that I've been to this year, I think Lebanon was the best one. Because with racing, they were not holding anything back. And then when it came to freestyle, same thing. They knew the lineage of the place and how much it means to, the sport of monster trucks. So they wanted to win bad. And again, you can check out the Motorsports Hour episode for Lebanon Valley Monster Trucks, because that one was seriously fun to put together. And honestly, it's my favorite one that I've done so far out of the ones that I've done throughout the last 3 years. And then there's that moment right there, the first thing that I did. Met Dennis, met Gary. And then there's me with my crazy old hair. So, but yeah, it was just such a cool experience. Then I went to the Sussex Fairgrounds, third year in a row, and I actually went to both shows this time. And I also got to do something different on that show, which was go inside of a truck. Because I had to get a GoPro in Kyle Seastock's truck, Backdraft. And I had to climb in. And it's not like your normal trucks where you have to go under. You actually had to go over, because he has like his like a different chassis, and like where the driver thing is, the floor was sealed, so I had to go over it. And going in was a bit easy, but then once I had to get out of the truck after I set up the GoPro, that was a struggle. I mean, I didn't know where to put my dang feet, because I didn't see the 4-link bar. I didn't like, once I got on the tire, I'm like, oh shit, where the hell do I put my freaking foot? So yeah, it's either that or I'm just too fucking short. I mean, what am I, like 5'6" or whatever? But whatever. Then I was gonna go to Renegade at Gilbert. That got moved, so I had to end up going to New Egypt Speedway instead for another 2 Extreme event. But that one was also a good one. And honestly, I think that one was better than Bridgeport, because the track was a lot more creative. And also I got to see the new Scarlet Bandit with Don Cretan. So that was cool. And then the last show was Scattercoke, which was Monster Truck Wars. And that one was an alright event, although there was some truck breakages and whatnot, and the track really didn't have a lot. They still put on a good show, I felt. And the Scattercoke one was unique because, again, with all the other locations that I went to, which was Bridgeport, Lebanon, Orange County, and Accord in New Egypt up to that point, all of those I've been to at some point, whether it was for monster trucks or for dirt racing. Scattercoke I've never been to at all, so I had to deal with that, and again, nailed the drive, came back, and it's a nice little town. I mean, it has like a little shopping center right across. It was just a teeny little fairground. It was not bad. So next year, I'm definitely going to do this again. Bridgeport, I think, was a great one. Lebanon, definitely. Sussex and Orange County. Well, Orange County, their future's up in the air again. Well, it's been like that for the last few years. So everyone's kept saying, "Oh, Orange County's done. Orange County's done. They're gonna shut down." The one in Middletown, not the one in California. But and a couple of years ago, it definitely seemed like that was gonna be it. But they managed to cheat death twice. And I think they have something coming up in November, like with the town. So hopefully they can convince them to keep the track open. If they don't, then that's going to be a huge loss for Middletown. But for Sussex, definitely they're going to have a show again, most likely KSR Motorsports again, and I am all in for it. But yeah, I might be doing Scattercoke again. Again, I got to see also the other locations, because I know they announced shows starting around either March or April for like all the different tours out there, and it kind of stops around like, I guess, late mid-August. So I'll have to see exactly what will be available at that point, but I would definitely be down for new locations. But I'm not gonna go over 3 hours. Maybe. I just gotta feel it out throughout the year. My limit right now is at 3 hours for a drive, so we'll see how things go throughout the year, and that might change depending on how I feel. All right, so I think that's really it right now. So I'm gonna have this opportunity to give you a few minutes to put in some questions in the chat, as this is the last part of the podcast, since I've kind of went over all my little either ranting, raving, or praising, or random shenanigans. This is your chance to now give me a question. I will answer it the best way I can, and if I don't answer it the best way I can, then you can laugh at me. I don't care. So, anyway, so while I wait, I just want to also let you guys know that there's going to be 4 more episodes, because there's 4 more events for the Sparkle Smash Bash series. So there's going to be, I think, Arlington is next. And I think that's like the first weekend of October, so that'll be the next one that I'll be talking about. And then I think there's a couple more Texas locations. Yeah, I think it's Arlington and then Houston. Or is it Arlington, Syracuse, and then Houston? I don't know. And then the last one, obviously, is Glendale, which is the largest floor, and it kind of feels fitting because, yeah, it's usually if they can make a crazy track with that floor space, then, yeah, we've seen this a few times with Monster Jam, and hopefully they go outside of the box with that. Yep, so just we'll go live for a couple more minutes. Either you have questions, and if we don't, that's totally fine. We could also just wrap up the stream that way. But yeah, it's definitely been a great year, and again, I just want to thank people in the shows and whatnot for making this year's Motorsports Hour season very memorable. Like, even outside of the recording, it was very fun. All right, who do you think will win the Fall Stadium Series? So we already are down one event, and it's kind of hard to predict because I'm not sure if they're going to be having new tracks each time. I'm not sure if they're going to just have 2 tracks or just 1 track. But after the one event and seeing how they did, honestly, I think Tyler Menega, I think he might have gotten those truck issues finally figured out. And I think he's going to be walking away with the championship by Glendale. Because he got runner-up in racing and then won skills and freestyle and overall. So he he practically dominated St. Louis. So there's a chance that he can get that series championship. I do wish those championships kind of like had, maybe like an automatic World Finals bid, or like some sort of like cash purse or something like that. Because honestly, it'd be pretty nice to have like one or two, one or the other, for like, like if you win, you get the certain thing. So, but all in all, entertaining series, and I think Tyler Menega is gonna get the win after the next 4 rounds. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up here on the podcast, as we're just about reaching 50 minutes. Thank you all for tuning in here, and we got about 4 more episodes left, and hopefully next year we will have a couple of new upgrades. I'll try to change things up for the next episode and a couple more after that, but hopefully next year we could get a couple more people on here, make it a little bit more of a conversation, and it would be pretty nice. Oh, we got one more question. So I was saying bye, but we're going to have to stay for one more. Or, actually, no, he said, I would say John Silver Jr. because he came in second in both skills and free. Oh, yeah, that's what I forgot to point out. He got second in skills and freestyle, and kind of crazy, but also Tyler also got ahead. But he was the only one that got ahead, so yeah, I do see John Zimmer Jr. Staying consistent. But yeah, so oh yeah, then the switch to driver, so also Tyler. Okay. All right, so that's going to be it now. Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of the podcast, and very excited for the future of the podcast, as we're going to try some new things, starting with the Houston event coming up early October. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you very, very soon.